Hello, this is Dylan Miller on Daily Dose of Dylan, Google Podcast, Spotify, Spreaker, or iHeartRadio. This is Dylan Miller on Daily Dose of Dylan. Alright, it's probably going to be a bit of a shorter podcast today, but there are some good stuff to talk about. I will talk about Watson again, and the Patriots. A lot of football today. Okay. Alright. So, let's start off with the Browns situation. We're just going to get the whole Watson stuff out of the way. Apparently he's going to be starting tomorrow, according to Cleveland, but I think if you're going to put... I kind of get I understand what they're trying to do. They're thinking Watson hasn't played for a year and a half. So he's going to be our primary starting quarterback for the next few years. But I don't think they understand that. Next few years, yes, he'll be it, but not this year. Like this year, it's very likely he gets a 1-year suspension. And at least there's going to be at least 6 games where Brissett is your starter. So, if I were them, I would try to get Brissett some snaps in, because any way you slice it, Brissett's going to be playing for you. For at least, a little under 50% of the season. What is it? Yeah, about at least a third of the season. He'll be playing for you. So, for me, I would tell Watson, we're still waiting for you to, we're still waiting to see, we still don't know if you're going to be out for the entire year. So, in the meantime, let's just get, Brissett ready to go in case we need him the entire season. That's what I would tell him. If he has a problem with that, which he might, there's nothing you can do about that. I think it's pure logic. Just considering, Goodell is saying the evidence is calling for a 1-year suspension. So it's when the NFL commissioner says the evidence is saying he should be out for 1 year, I'm going to give it a 90% chance that he is out for the entire year. And like I just said, even if he's not, he's out for at least 6 games because they didn't appeal that. They didn't appeal to the NFLPA and the Browns didn't appeal to the 6-game suspension. The NFL did. The ones that are trying to get a year. So it's going to be minimum 6 games. I think the smart thing to do would be to start Brissett. I don't think there's really much of a debate. Alright, so I talked the last few days about the Pats' problems with Mac Jones, who's going to start and all that other great stuff. And there's one thing I haven't addressed, which there's a reason. I think I'm sure they know who's going to call the plays. I highly doubt Belichick's sitting at home and forgot to hire someone to call the plays. I'm sure he knows what he's doing, And obviously, I don't think they're going to be better. I don't think they're going to be a playoff team this year. I don't think they're going to win 10 games. They don't have Josh McDaniels, which is a big drop-off from where they were, And, I will warn you guys, in case you haven't realized, Belichick's not good in his first 4 games of the year. I can give you 3 guaranteed losses the first week. Miami week 1, Ravens week 3, Packers week 4. And it's possible they beat the Steelers in week 2. But I don't think they do. I mean, Belichick's a real slow starter, but I think Tomlin kind of is too. And Tomlin hasn't had a losing season. So that's why I'm predicting the Steelers. That's why I'm having trouble predicting the Steelers at around 7-10, like I am. Because I also thought they'd be closer to 8-9, 7-10 last year, and they got 9-8. So I wasn't entirely wrong, but I wasn't too far off. But yeah, I didn't think they'd be a winning team, and they were. So. I think the Pats know what they're doing, and I think I've been saying this since the Pats won 10 games last year. I think Mac Jones landed in the right spot for him to succeed. I think if he was anywhere else, he wouldn't be that good. I don't think he's good in any other system except for the Pats. But that's a problem also with Mac Jones, is he is good enough. He's not great. You're not going to win a Super Bowl with good enough, I know the Pats didn't have a great roster, but they had Tom Brady at their quarterback. So it's that's why they won Super Bowls, not because of their receiving core. I mean, their defenses were really good, and I still think Belichick is the best defensive coach ever. So, obviously their defenses were great, but their offense wasn't going to score any touchdowns without Brady. And you saw it last year. They weren't... they were carried mainly by their defense, not Mac Jones and his play. I'm sure everyone remembers the game where he threw 3 passes and they won. That was all defense. That had nothing to do with Mac Jones. It's So, I don't know. I'm not high on the Patriots this year. But I think we should stop worrying about who's going to call the plays. I'd have Belichick sitting at home, thinking about everything in his life, and then all of a sudden something pops in his head, oh, I have to figure out who's calling plays. He'll be in the main part of my job, sure, Belichick knows what he's doing in that case. Alright, so we got preseason football tonight. We got Titans-Ravens. It's I guess kind of an interesting matchup. No matchup is really... I don't think any matchup is really important in the preseason at all. I think if you asked any fan, do you care if your team loses in the preseason, they will say no. I don't care. The Packers play tomorrow against the Niners, at San Francisco, and it's I don't care if they lose. I mean, the Packers are 2.5-point underdogs, actually, to the Niners, but it doesn't matter to me. It's preseason. There's no starters. Doesn't matter to me. The Titans, I think the Ravens, I'll clear it up right now. I think the Ravens are a playoff team next year. But, the Titans, I don't know about them. They could be really good, because they were the 1 seed last year. They could be really good or really bad, because, how long are they just going to say, we'll give it to Derek, he'll do the work, Because Henry can't play. We saw last year, he was able to go, 2.5, he was able to go 2.5 years being the guy that carried the offense heavily. Last year, he only got halfway through, and he was dominating, but he only got halfway through because he, was getting, 80% of their touches. He was responsible for most of their touchdowns, most of their yardage. You can't have him doing that all the time. Also, their defense isn't that great. A.J. Brown, they lost him. That's a big loss. I'm not high on the Titans this year. I think that's the Colts division to lose. I don't get me wrong. I think the Titans are better than the Jaguars and Texans right now. Because I think the Texans are going to be last in the division this year. Then the Jaguars at third. And I think the Colts could be, sneaky good this year, I don't think Matt Ryan is dead yet. I really don't. I don't think he's... Obviously, he's regressed a little bit. I don't know if he's... I wouldn't define him as washed yet. I think he has been in a offensive system, for the last, 3 years that simply isn't very good. Julio Jones got older, and then he left. And then Calvin Ridley has his injury problems, and last year just stepped away for a little bit, and now he's suspended for a year. So it's their team's just a mess. And I mean, they had Kyle Pitts last year, but your tight end is never going to be your number one target. It's rare that your tight end is your number one target, and you win stuff. The only time I've seen that happen is when, I guess, the Patriots with Rob Gronkowski and Brady, but even then, Brady had Edelman. Edelman, he threw it to Edelman a lot. And Gronkowski was hurt a lot. And I think that's because he was targeted a lot, It's Anyway, I think that's the Colts division to lose. I don't think the Titans are probably going to be 8-9 at best this year. So, alright. So, Tua reacted to the Brady news about them trying to recruit him in 2019. That was before Tua was there, though, the way I see it. I don't think it really has much to do with them, considering it was before I was there. And he said it's just noise to him. And, he's good at the podium, I think, Tua. I think he's been giving great answers when people ask him about his potential struggles during the season and what that could do, how that can affect his job, Yeah, he's always been accurate. I said this yesterday. He's got a 66% passer rating over his 2 years. 27 touchdowns, 15 picks. And I think I said this a lot in his first year. He only played 9 games in his first year. So he's only had 1 full season. I think he's slowly improving. I really do. And by the way, I think he is in a much better passer rating than Josh Allen did in his first 2 years, Much more accurate than him. And I think he's more efficient than Josh Allen as well. And if Josh Allen managed to become the player he is, I don't see why Tua can't. And Tua was more promising coming out of college than I think Josh Allen was. I'm rooting for Tua. I think he knows he's got to step up and his job is on the line. I'm rooting for him. Especially since I've pretty much defended him from the beginning. So, I criticized him a bit last year, because he had some flaws, but, I can't help but root for him. He's and I think the Dolphins are maybe a dark horse playoff team this year. Alright. By the way, the last game Watson played was against I think it was against the Titans, I believe. By the way, the last year he played, I think he led the league in passing yards and had the second best quarterback rating, only to Aaron Rodgers. And that was one of Aaron Rodgers' best years. So, he's a great player. It just, you don't... I don't know why the Browns would trade for him. He's such a liability right now. Even if he didn't do the things he did, he was still on trial. He didn't even settle anything when they traded for him. It's not even Like, it was... They traded for him when he very well could have been a criminal. Alright. By the way, Chris Sims was on from Pro Football Talk, was on the Dan Patrick Show today, and he said he thinks Watson might not start tomorrow. Thinks the NFL might come out with some, evidence. Or, some new information on the appeal. Because the NFL doesn't want Watson's story to dominate, because it's a bad look for the NFL. Because you got a guy who very well could have assaulted 24 women, and they are, they're not even suspending him for more than half the year, and that's a story that's dominating them. And it's not like there's no other story bigger than this right now in the NFL. So that's not a good look for them. They don't want that to dominate another week, especially if it could get even more controversial if they play him tomorrow. It's going to be like, okay, so he's suspended 6 games, but he's still going to play. I don't think they. Yeah, I really don't think the NFL. I think it's just a bad look for the NFL overall. Really. And it's not because I think he did it. I'm not entirely sure. Like I said, no evidence has been released, but just the process in this, I don't know, it's just a confusing process. I really am having a tough time understanding this. So, I was watching the Dan Patrick Show today, and they were talking about the Jeter documentary. And they compared Russell Wilson to Derek Jeter. I think it's an interesting comparison. Because they're... it's weird. They're both, highly respected leaders. They were both top-tier athletes in their sport for years, and they both kind of have the same personality, kind of attitude kind of thing, I feel like. By the way, Wilson almost played baseball. I think it would be an easier comparison if he actually played baseball, because I just think they have this. They bring the same kind of energy to the sport, and the document. I've been way behind on the documentary. I'm only on I finished episode 3 a few days ago. I'm gonna episode 7. The series concludes tonight, so I really gotta step my game up here. I gotta start watching more of it. It's good stuff so far. So, alright. So Kevin Durant requested a trade, obviously, and I think I've said it a few times on the show. I believe if any of them gets traded, it should be Kyrie. I really do. So allegedly, according to Rick Bucher and Bleacher Report, he asked for the max contract, but he has to play no back-to-back games and no more than 60 games a season. How are you going to ask for a max contract and then not want to play more than 60 games a season? He said it's inhumane to play back-to-back games. It would be inhumane to pay you the max if you're not going to play more than 75% of the season. That's... My God, I just don't think he's a good... I just don't think he's a good teammate. I think he's a great player. Like I said, 27 points a game over 29 games. He misses so much of the season. He's just such a liability. They're going to get rid of him so badly. Oh my god, it's bad. It's bad. And then KD is unhappy there too, so they're in a really rough situation. And I think KD will wind up getting traded. I don't know. For the Celtics are interested. I mean, I don't know who wouldn't be interested in KD at this point. Like, KD would make any team better. He's Kevin Durant, so I don't think the Celtics really fits at all. I think the Celtics are in a situation where they're building up their team. They got a lot of young talent. I think it would just be stupid to add KD in that mix. I mean, then there's like the Sixers. I think that could be interesting. I don't really know. It's a messy situation. So obviously over the season, a lot of quarterbacks get benched. For backups, I'm just thinking like of some of the quarterbacks that could possibly be benched this year. Like I think Winston, possibly could be benched for Andy Dalton if he's not playing well. It sounds ridiculous, but he's been benched for Ryan Fitzpatrick before, so I don't think anything would be out of the. I don't think anything should sound crazy for him as of now. I think maybe Daniel Jones gets benched for Tyrod Taylor. I think it was a mistake keeping him this year. I think they should have let him go. I just don't think he's a really good quarterback at all. And Tyrod Taylor, I know, he's like... I do think he is a top 10 backup in the league, though. It's not a big compliment, but I think it's possible. I also, it's less realistic than Jones and Winston getting benched, but I think Carson Wentz might be benched for Taylor Heineke. I think that's a possibility, too. And finally, I think the most unrealistic one, but it could happen, if Trubisky is playing like crap, I think they might think, like, okay, maybe the Steelers, what I think they would do if Trubisky, this is hypothetical, if Trubisky is struggling, they might throw Mason Rudolph to play it safe. They don't want to throw in the rookie yet. Then if Rudolph is struggling again, I think then they have no choice but to throw in Kenny Pickett for a bit, See what he has, I don't know. Those are some of the guys I think might be benched. I think, my thought process behind that was like, who are some of the lower tier quarterbacks and who are some of the higher tier backups? Like, Andy Dalton's not the best, but I do think he's a higher tier backup. Just considering his starting experience. And he made the playoffs before. Like, he knows what he's doing. Tyrod Taylor, I don't think he's the best backup quarterback by any means, but Daniel Jones, just not good. I don't know if I can explain it any other way. And I think Heineke is kind of a high-tier backup, and, Carson Wentz is, he's kind of an on-and-off guy. And then Trubisky is clearly a lower-tier starter, and, I'm not saying Pickett or Rudolph are high-tier starters, but I think it's not inconceivable that the Steelers see Rudolph or Trubisky struggling early, and then they say, let's throw in Kenny Pickett. Like, why not? I would say, you could argue Jimmy Garoppolo, because the Niners have revealed that Trey Lance will be starting. But I do think they're going to trade Jimmy Garoppolo. If not, I do believe he is the best backup in the league, and it's very possible, if he is with them at the start of the season, that Trey Lance gets benched for Jimmy Garoppolo. All right. So, shockingly, that's it. Only a 25-minute podcast today, but kind of enjoyed it. All right. So, this is Dylan Miller. I think Joseph Dylan. Google Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, or iHeartRadio. This is Dylan Miller on Daily Joseph Dylan. Have a good day.